Hi, in today's video I'm going to be covering how to add chapters to a video file using ffmpeg. So first of all, what we've got here on the desktop is a copy of Big Buck Bunny, and if I play that, you'll see it's got no chapters. So I just pause that here. You can see it has no chapters here, and also the file name, the title is just the file name up here. So what I'm going to do is add chapters to this video. So I'm going to run a script called chapter-csv, give it its input file. We now have a file called input metadata. I'm going to run chapter add, give it the video file and the metadata file, output file name bbb.mkv. And you can see that's now done. And you can see we've got chapters here. So if I put this full screen, what I can do using MPV is I can use page up and page down to jump to different chapters. So there's intro, chapter 2, scratches arse, smells flowers, butterfly, squirrel, squish, bunny Rambo. So let's just quickly go through and that is them getting up. There's the butterfly. Next scene, and you get the picture. So how do we do this? So first of all, let's take a look at two things: the CSV file and the metadata file. So this is the CSV file that we used to create the metadata file for the chapters for ffmpeg. So what we've got up here is the start time, and you can see this is in hours, minutes and seconds. So this is sexagesimal time, I think that's how it's pronounced. So we have hours, colon, minutes, colon, and then seconds, and then a comma, and then the chapter title, basically. So the important thing about this is the end time down here is the end time of the video. So this end time is actually used as the end time for the previous scene. So the last scene starts at this point and ends at this point, and this end here isn't actually created as a chapter. It's just so you know that what the end time is. So this is the format of the CSV file here. As you can see, got hours, minutes, seconds, all the different scenes. So it's really easy to knock up. So when we ran the script, the chapter CSV script, what it did was it took that file and it converted it into this format for ffmpeg. So let's have a look at the actual format. So up here, let's come back to the notes. So the ffmpeg metadata format, first of all, it starts with colon, semicolon, ff metadata 1, followed by chapter, time base, start, end, and then the title. Now the time base is in milliseconds, so we had to convert from sexagesimal format, hours, minutes, and seconds, to seconds, and then to milliseconds. The start time is the start time of the chapter, and the end time is the start time of the next chapter minus 1 millisecond, except the last record, so that chapters don't overlap. So let's have a look at that. So we've got the ff metadata 1, we've got chapter, we've got the time base, and this is telling it that the time base is in milliseconds. And then we have the start, which is obviously 0. You can see end here. This is 1 millisecond less than the start time of the next chapter, and that's so that the chapters don't overlap. Then we've got the title. and then this is repeated. And what you'll see down here is the last scene. So let's open the CSV file as well. Hang on. So you can see here, we've got the last scene. So this is the last scene. It starts at this time, that's in milliseconds, and ends at this time. So the title is last scene. So what you can see here is this section here is used as the last scene's end point, and end isn't added as a chapter here. So that's just the format of the ffmpeg metadata file. So these are the commands that we used to actually add the metadata with the script. So first of all, what we did was we converted the CSV file into the metadata file, and then used that to inject the metadata into a new copy of the file without re-encoding the audio or video. So that's why it's so quick. You don't have to re-encode anything. You can just create the CSV file, convert it, and then run the script, and it will create a new copy of the file with the chapters. What we can also do is add additional metadata as well. So let's go through and have a look at the problems that we have to solve with this. So what we needed to do was actually, in this CSV file here, we got everything in this format. So what we have to do is we've got to convert from sexagesimal to milliseconds like that. So that's one thing we need to do. We had to get the chapter end time. The chapter end time has to be the start time of the next chapter minus 1 millisecond, except the last timestamp, which is the end of the video. The other thing we have to work out is how do we actually get the chapter from the CSV file and add it as a title to the chapter. So what's the program we're going to use? We need a program that can do arithmetic, work with CSV data, and also create the metadata file. So the program we're going to use for this is awk. And what we're going to do next is have a look at the scripts. So first of all, we've got 3 scripts. We've got chapter-csv, which is for converting the CSV file into the metadata file. And we've got chapter-add, which is used for adding the chapter to a new copy of the file. And then we've got chapter-extract, which will extract chapters from a video file into a CSV file that you can then reuse to, add chapters to a maybe better quality version of the video. Or you can also take the CSV file, remove the comma, and use it as timestamps for a YouTube video. So if you've got a video that already has chapters and you want to upload it to YouTube, you can extract all the timestamps and add it in the description under your video so that you actually get chapters show up, because I don't think chapters automatically show up from video files when you upload them to YouTube. So let's go through these scripts, and what we're also going to do is have a look at how you extract metadata from a video file, how you can remove chapters and subtitle data from a video file, add metadata on the command line like add a title, also how you can download a video with embedded chapters, and what the commands are with MPV to actually switch chapters. So what we'll do now is have a look at this chapter CSV file. In chapter CSV. Let me just get that down. Yeah. Okay. So this is the chapter CSV file. Convert a CSV file into a chapter metadata file for ffmpeg, and the dependencies for this script are awk. So first of all, we've got the script usage. I'll fly through the little boring stuff here. This is the script usage, error messages, check the number of arguments passed to the script. This is get ops. This is when you run the script with like the -i option or the -o option or the -h option for help, this is how it basically works with those options passed to the script. Okay, we've got some variables here, the input file name and a default output file name. But what I'll get to down here is the actual function. This is the function that takes the CSV file and converts all the timestamps from sexagesimal to milliseconds. So first of all, up here we've got the function. What we're doing here next is creating a variable called total. And what we're doing here is running in a subshell awk end print nr and then giving it the input. And what that does, if I just run this command for you, show you what it does on the command line. Input.text. What it will do is it actually prints out the number of records in the file. So there are 11 records. That means there's 11 separated by a new line. So there's 11 lines in this file. And the reason we need to know this is because how we calculate the end time for each chapter. The end time needs to be 1 millisecond less than the start time of the next chapter, except the end field, which is the end of the video. So what we need to do is actually work out, first of all, how many records there are, so we can then say, okay, if in this case there are 11, what we do is we're actually going to split the records. But what I'll do first of all is come onto this section here. We're using awk and we're setting the delimiter to a comma so that we can parse the input file. So as you can see, the input file is separated by a comma. So the first field is the timestamp, the second field is the chapter. What we then do is we say if the timestamp, if the first field, that's 0:0, yeah, so the first field is this 00:00:00. So if the first field matches that pattern, what we're going to do is run the split command and split it on the colons. The reason we do that is because we can then, in the next step, we'll then have like an array. T1 is going to be the hours, T2 is going to be the minutes, and T3 is going to be seconds. So we can create a variable called combined and actually do the maths to convert hours, minutes, and seconds into seconds. And then what we do is we create a new variable called milliseconds, and that's equal to seconds times 1,000, which equals milliseconds. Finally, we print the milliseconds and the chapter. So see if I can just get this to actually run. So you'll actually see what I'm talking about. Always makes things a bit easier. .text. You can see what's happened here is, let me show you the original one. Oh, original one. So this is the original one. You can see hours, minutes, seconds, comma, and then the chapter. That first bit of the awk command, what it's done is it's calculated, it's replaced all of these with milliseconds. Pretty cool, huh? So that's the first step we've managed to do. Is we've done the calculation using awk to change the hours, minutes, seconds to milliseconds. We've got the same format. We've got the same CSV format of time, comma, chapter. So next step, what we then do is we pipe that back into awk, and this is the tricky thing. What you see here is, if I can move my cursor out of the way, awk-v records equals total. You'll see up here this total variable. This is how you can reference a variable in a shell script from awk. So we're creating a variable called records, and that's equal to total. In this next section down here, what we're saying is if FNR, that's the number of fields, is less than records, so records is total, and total is that variable, and that variable is equal to the number of lines in the input file, the CSV file. So in that case, I think it was 11. So if the number of fields is less than 11, the end point, so this end variable, equals 1 minus 1, else end equals 1. And what this does is this sets the end point of each chapter to -1 millisecond unless it's the end chapter. Make sense? Then what we've got here is if number of records equals 1, print ff metadata 1. Then that's the this section up here. So first of all, we're saying, okay, create this here. Then what we're saying is if number of records is greater than 1, so we created one record, we created one line, that's the first line. Then what we're saying is if it's greater than the first line, print out all this stuff. So we're then saying print out chapter, time base, start, previous, end equals end, title equals chapter. And we've got this little thing down here, previous equals 1, chapter equals 2. And that's what I referenced here, end, previous and chapter, basically. And then we run the function. So that's the script, and that's how it does the maths. And the output is this. So once we've run the chapter-csv file, it creates this file. And what we can also do is we can add in additional metadata in here, like title and stuff like that. So that's the chapter-csv file. We'll have a look at the chapter add file next. So a chapter add, and I'll skip past all the script usage and that. Okay, we got the variables there, input name, input extension, and this is the actual function. So this is the whole function. So first of all, we run ffmpeg hide banner stats -v panic, so that just hides all the output that you normally get when you run ffmpeg. And then what we've got is -i input -i metadata. So input and metadata come from up here. So when you run the scripts, you give it some options. Let me just come back up to the actual options here. You'll see. So the script input, metadata, and then output. And that's what the get-ops does. So when you run -i and give it the video file, that's stored in -input. When you give it -c and the metadata file, that's stored in the metadata variable and output and so on. So this is the bit here. We give it the video file, we give it the metadata file, and then what we do is we say map _ metadata 1 -c copy, and then the output file. What that does is that injects the metadata into a new copy of the video without re-encoding it. And what it also does is it doesn't overwrite the existing sort of encoder information that you get, which I'll show you later. So that's the chapter add script. So next we got the chapter extract script. So what I'll do now is actually show you that script. So we've got Big Buck Bunny here, and as you can see, it's got the chapters. So what we want to do is extract all the chapters into a CSV file in hours, minutes, and seconds, and also convert that file into timestamps for YouTube. So what we're going to do is run chapter extract -h for the help, extract chapters from a video or audio file and save as a CSV file. Chapter extract -i input -output. Okay, so chapter extract, give it the input, which is the video file, so bbb.nkv, and we'll call that bbb meta.text. Yep, and that's done. BBB meta, and I did something wrong. Bugger. That was working before, so what have I done wrong? Maybe I should have checked it before I did it. So BB chapters, done something wrong there. I'll have to look at that script and come back to it, but you know, there's always going to be some error come up. So obviously I'll fix that. Let's let me just have a quick shifty and see what I've done wrong. It looks all good. Yeah, I don't know why that's not working. That was the right file. Oh, so I'll remove that empty file. ffprobe in BBB, and you'll see if you run ffprobe-i and a video file, it's actually going to print out all the metadata here, like chapters. You can see here the chapters start, end, all the information there. So let's get back to something that's actually working. I'll have to skip that, but when you want to remove a say I've got this input file here and I want to use this for YouTube. So this is actually the correct format for YouTube, except we want to remove all these semicolons. So what I'm going to do is just make a copy of that, input.text, comma.text. And what we can do is simply run tr. So we can run the tr command, tr, single quotes, comma, single quote, space, single quote, space, single quote, give it the input file, redirect it to output. So tr, comma, space, comma, input, comma, no, comma, dot text. Come back to the desktop. Yep, no comma, and you can see it's removed the comma from the CSV file. So you can actually then just paste that under a video and on YouTube in the description, and all the chapters will show up. Okay, so what we want to do is actually have a look at extracting metadata. So this is how you actually extract metadata from a video. Let me just clean up the desktop a bit. Okay, so we got the bbb.mkv file, which has got the chapters in it. So to extract metadata from a video file, what we do is run ffmpeg-i, the input file, -f, ff metadata, and the output file. So let's do that. ffmpeg, input bbb, and the nice thing here is you actually get auto completion with ZSH. So if I run -f and then ff and press tab, it's going to auto complete to metadata, and I'll just call this bbb meta.text. You can see it printed all that out as went along. Let me just come back to desktop, and as you can see here, it's actually printed out all the metadata, the chapters basically. So we've got all the chapters there. So that's how you extract metadata from a video file. ffmpeg-i, the input file, -f metadata, ffm. My brain auto completes to ffmpeg, so it's ff metadata and then the output file. So next thing we want to do is actually remove chapters and subtitles from a file. So what we're going to do is create a copy of a file with all the metadata removed. So I'm actually going to be lazy and copy the actual command rather than I remember it. So got BBB, so ffmpeg -i bbb.mkv, and we've got a file called output no. So the command is ffmpeg -i, the input file, -c :v copy, that copies the video track, -c :a copy, that copies the audio track. Then we've got -sn -map metadata -1 -map chapters -1 output. So we run that, and we've got the output file. If I now play that, you'll see there's no chapters in this video file. And if we run ffprobe -i on that file, you'll see that the chapters have actually been removed. So that's how we can remove chapters from a new file. So let's add a title. So what we're going to do now is actually add a title to a copy of that file. So let's call this Big Buck Bunny. So I think we get auto completion for this as well. ffmpeg in Big Buck Bunny. Let me just clean up the desktop a bit. Don't need that. Don't need that. No, don't need that one either. Okay. So what we're going to do is add a title, and we can also do this in the metadata file that we created. So you can either do this on the command line, or what you can do is after you've converted the CSV file to the metadata file, you can edit it and add in additional metadata that you inject into the video. So let's just be lazy and copy some of this. So ffmpeg in Big Buck Bunny. Want to do it? You just it won't overwrite existing stuff. So ffmpeg b, we're going to create a new copy anyway. So copy metadata. Call this Big Bunny. And what else do we need to do? That was it. And then the outputs. So BBB in ffmpeg -i, the video files -c copy. That's going to copy the video and audio tracks. -metadata title equals Big Buck Bunny, and we're going to call this title.mkv. Done. We now play title. You can see here it now says Big Buck Bunny. So we've now added the title there, and we can check that using ffprobe -i title. Yeah, you can see up here metadata title Big Buck Bunny. Okay, let's just remove the title. And what we'll do now is let's remove that one as well. And what we'll do now is actually add the metadata. This is how we this is the command for actually manually adding the metadata. But what we're going to do is go through and create that metadata file again. And now what we're going to do is actually edit it. So what we want to do is, before the metadata file, did I make notes on this? I thought I did somewhere in here. Yeah. So what we just need to do is add title equals Big Bunny, and what I'll do is put a link to a document that has all the metadata that you can add in your video or audio files. You can add things like comment, title, copyright, song, genre, all that kind of stuff. author. So what we're going to do now is we're going to inject this file and this metadata into a copy of the video and hopefully set the title at the same time as well as the chapters. So we've got the input metadata file in Big Butt Bunny. So again, we run chapter add. What do we need to do? -I input, that's the video, -c the metadata, and -o the out file. So chapter add Big Butt Bunny -c input metadata, and -o, we'll call this title.mkv, and you can see two things. One, you don't get the big thing saying ffmpeg built with and all that kind of stuff because we suppressed it using the hide banner. You also don't get any other output apart from the frames that it's processing. So now we've got title, MPV title, and you can see it's now set to Big Butt Bunny. So we don't want the quotes. You can see it's actually added the quotes. So let's go through and change that. Let's remove the quotes and do that again. So title. So we've got the input metadata. So chapter add Big Butt Bunny input metadata out title.mkv, title mkv. That's better. So no quotes. So don't put quotes around it. So that's just me not reading about the format enough. So you can see there we've got the nice title here. So normally what happens in your video player, it should be MPV because it's the best one, is that it will show the title as the file name, and the file name may, depending where you've got it, maybe not as clean as that. So that's the first thing. We can set the title nicely, and then we can use the keyboard shortcuts in MPV, which are page up and page down, to advance through the title. So page up is going forward and page down is going backwards. So up, back, yeah. So we got all the titles here. We can easily go through, and you can see there's the last scene. And what we can do is we can actually have a look at that FF Pro title, and you'll see here we've got the title set, and we've got all the chapters set properly. Chapter, start, end time, the metadata, the title here. Bunny gets up, scratches ass, smells flowers, butterflies, squirrel, squish, bunny, Rambo, revenge. So we've got all that set up. So this is how you manually add the metadata. So created a script to simplify doing it, and basically that's what the script does. That's the ffmpeg command. The next thing I want to cover is yt-dlp. The -- embed -chapters option will actually download a video with the chapters embedded, and you could also add that to your yt-dlp config, so that's automatically enabled for all videos that actually have chapters. And the final thing was actually switching chapters with MPV. Again, that's using page up and page down to switch chapters. So that's basically the gist of everything, and I'll have to have a look and see why that script wasn't working, the chapter extract. So chapter extract -I title, and it should extract it to a title chapters blank. Yeah, so I don't know what I've done wrong there. Let me just actually try manually running this. So this is the actual command that you can run with ffprobe to extract chapters, but also two things: extract the timestamps in hexadecimal format, that's hours, minutes, and seconds instead of milliseconds. And the reason you want to do that is because That's the format YouTube would want, and we can also specify an output format of CSV. So let's have a look and see why this wasn't working. So what this should do, okay, so that bit of the command is working here. ffprobe-v panic hide banner. That's the same as ffmpeg, but it doesn't print out built with you know, all the codecs. Then we do show chapters. That's -hexadecimal output CSV, and then the video. And what you can see here is we have a CSV file actually separated by commas. So we've got the chapter :1. This is the so that's the chapter. That's the first chapter. This is the timestamp. If I run this with the no key equals 1 option, if you let me, CSV equals no key equals 1, I think it is. Was it 0? No, I think it's 0. To show you the difference. Okay, so if you run the CSV, the output format CSV equals, and by default it's no key 1. And what this does is you have the key and then the value. So the no key 0 option is actually printing out the key. So what you've got here is like start time equals, and then the start time, end equals, and then the end time. So let me just run it back with the default. So what we've got here is these different fields. So the timestamp, and then you can see here we've got the timestamp, the start time, and the end time. So this is the start time in hexadecimal, and then we have the start, and then we've got the end time in milliseconds, and the end time in hexadecimal. So that's why we use that option, so that it prints out the start and end times. And then here is the doodah chapter. So I think what the issue is I've got one. So what you have to do with awk is actually extract fields by sort of like various methods. One of which is by the number of the fields. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 5th field. And we've got the last field there. So let's just have a look and see if what's not working. So title mkv. Oh, yeah, it's doing something bad. Yeah. Yeah. What have I done wrong? I've done something wrong with this awk command, because basically what I should be doing is pulling out the 5th field and then the last record, and cutting off the millisecond from the time. So I'll have to have a look why that one's not working. But yeah, basically that's what it does. It lets you extract the chapters in a CSV format in hours, minutes, and seconds. And then once you've got that, you can reuse that to that chapter information on another video. So suppose you had a lower quality version with all the chapters in, and you had a new higher quality version of something, you know, you could extract the chapters and then add them to the new version. Or what you can do is use the tr command to remove the comma, and then use those timestamps under a YouTube video. So if you've got an existing video that's got chapters in it, and you want to get the timestamps out for YouTube, you can extract the timestamps and then stick them under the video. So I'll have to have a look what I've done wrong there. I'm sure it was working before and I've done something, or it's just one of those things in a demo. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. That's the whole process of creating a metadata file that you can then use to create chapters in a video. So let me just close that. So again, we started with an input file like this. Hours, minutes, seconds separated by a comma, and then all the chapter titles here. And once we've done that, we ran the chapter-csv script, and it creates the it creates the ffmpeg metadata file for adding the chapters. And as you can see here, first of all, we added our additional metadata, so you could add things like author, comment, copyright, all that kind of stuff. And don't put commas around here, because otherwise they show up. So the format is just the name of the metadata equals, and then whatever you want to set. Then we've got the chapter, got the time base in milliseconds, we've got the start time and the end time here. So this is 3299. You can see here the start time of the next chapter is 33000, so that's 1 millisecond less. Then we've got the intro, and this gets repeated all the way down to the end, apart from the last one again. So this is the important thing about how it works. So, sorry. So the CSV file, the last entry, the last record, is the end time of the video. So it's the end time of the video, and then we set colon end, semicolon, comma end here, and this end time is the end time of this previous scene, and this end here isn't actually added as a chapter. So the last scene takes this end time at the end of the video. Okay, and as you can see here, the end time here, this end time is actually that end time in the CSV file. So that's the important thing about how it works. And again, you can just add in additional metadata here. And that's the script I don't need to go through, but we had the, first of all, we had the chapter CSV script. Let me just remove that one down. And again, what this did was, first of all, it grabs the number of records in the CSV file, so the number of lines that we need to process. We set the delimiter to a comma. First time is the time, and the chapter is chapter, so separated by a comma. Then we split the time by comma. Times, hours, minutes, and seconds to get seconds. Converted that to milliseconds. Printed that out, and then piped it into awk again. And what we do is we create the start here, the FF metadata, and then the chapter, the time base, the start, the end, and the title. So that's the CSV script, and this is the chapter add script again. So you can see here, it's very simple. Down one. Yeah, hide the banner, stats, give it the input, there's the video, the metadata file, map metadata 1-c copy, that copies the audio and video file into the output file. Down here we run the function. So those are the scripts. I have to have a look at why this one's not working. But yeah, that's the problems we had to solve was converting from hours, minutes, seconds to milliseconds, calculating the end time of the video so that the end time doesn't have 1 millisecond taken off, add the chapter. We used awk, and this is how we extracted the metadata again. ffmpeg-i input file -f ff metadata and the output file. So that's extracting the metadata. This is removing the chapters and subtitles, and I'll put a link to this so you can copy the commands. ffmpeg-i, the input file, This here copies the video stream, audio stream. We set -SN, so that removes, I think, sort of basically removes these options. So remove the chapters and the subtitles and create a new file. So that's useful if you just want to strip out all the metadata. And this was how we added a title on the command line. ffmpeg-i input-c copy-metadata title equals title in single quotes and in the output file. And again, we can also set that in the ffmpeg metadata file for the chapters. And this is the command that basically allows you to inject the ff metadata file. And again, remember, it's got a particular format. Got to start with semicolon ff metadata 1. And that's how you manually inject the metadata file. So you can create this by hand if you want to, but I'm lazy, so I wanted to script it all, especially since there's lots of maths involved in actually converting from hours, minutes, and seconds to milliseconds. So that's adding the metadata. And this is actually downloading a video with embedded chapters again, yt-dlp --embed chapters. And again, you can add that to your yt-dlp config. And for MPV, use page up and page down to switch chapters. Page up is forward, page down is backwards. So I think that's everything, and I'll have a look at that script that wasn't working and figure out what I did to break it. But the other thing is I've pushed all the scripts up here. You can see chapter. I'll just have to fix this one, so give us a little while. And if you come down here, you can click and it will take you to that section. I've also added this to the German version that I did, and they have different names, funnily enough. Capital CSV or I'm not even going to try and pronounce any of this, but yeah, I use Google Translate with Emacs, so it's really cool. So if we can just demo that. Let's come across and just create a create a new file, and this is a quick test Google Translate and Emacs. Make that a bit bigger. Run Google Translate paragraph. Google Translate paragraph insert. Translate from English to German. Hello, das ist ein kurzer Test von Google Translate und Emacs. Really cool. And this is basically how I translate scripts from English to German. You can just have a text file open, run that command, and it will print out the language you've chosen under the English version, so you can actually see what that is. So you can practice this in a sort of German accent that we love to do in England, take the piss out of you. Probably still all those war films that we get on the TV. So this is how you can use Google Translate, which I think I've covered in a previous video, but it was just a quick heads up that I've added these to the German version, but as I said, I'll just need to have a look at that chapter extract script and see why it's not working. That's all for now, and I'll add links to all this under the video.